Apologetics is the discipline within Christian theology where the goal is to provide a rational defense for the Christian faith. And Christian scholars have identified 4 approaches to engaging in the apologetics enterprise. One of them is called evidentialism. Travis, could you explain to me what evidentialism is and what are some of its strengths and weaknesses?
Evidentialism is a school of thought that takes what I would call a one-step approach to apologetics. Most evidentialists are very comfortable with immediately going to the specific truth claims of Christianity and offering a defense of them. Evidentialists can be seen in scholars like Hugo Grotius, John Locke, William Paley. Modern evidentialists would include individuals such as John Warwick Montgomery, Gary Habermas, and Michael Licona. And the evidentialists, for the most part in the modern era, feels like it's perfectly appropriate to start with the facts surrounding Jesus' death, burial, and resurrection. So an historical case is usually made for the specific claims about who Jesus was and what he did and whether or not he rose from the dead. And it is thought among evidentialists that once we conclude that Jesus rose from the dead, we can go ahead and deduce all other Christian truth claims from that. So for example, if Jesus rose from the dead, then we can automatically conclude that he's the Son of God and that therefore God raised him from the dead. Because this is such a stupendous miracle, you have to assume that there had to have been a God to cause it. Now, evidentialists are not averse to engaging in natural theology, which is the art and science of deducing God's existence from the phenomena of nature. But most evidentialists living today would be content to just offer, say, design arguments for God's existence. And so you will see often an evidentialist arguing for the resurrection and then maybe as a side note saying, by the way, we do feel warranted in saying there's a God because look at the evidence for design in nature. And you'll see people like John Warwick Montgomery or Gary Habermas engaging in those kinds of arguments. What distinguishes the evidentialist from the classical apologist on that score, however, is that first of all, it's the historical argument for the resurrection that is their central case, from which they then move into different kinds of discussions on God's existence or miracles or what have you. And second of all, when they do make the case for God's existence, it is usually inductive in character, and therefore even God's existence is only seen to be probabilistically true. So not only is the case for Christianity result in probabilism, in other words, it is more probable than not that Christianity is true than other worldviews, but even the case for God's existence ends in probability. I think the strength of this approach is that the evidentialist does a great job at getting us right to the heart of the issue. Who is Jesus Christ? What did he do? And what is the evidence for his resurrection? And so any Christian engaging in apologetics with an unbeliever who has mastered the evidential approach can immediately go to the facts surrounding Jesus and what he did and whether he rose from the dead. I think the weaknesses of this approach, however, is that it's almost impossible to prove the entire enchilada, if you will, through an historical argument for the resurrection. You have to engage in theistic apologetics at some point in the game. And as Cornelius Van Til, one critic of evidentialism, said, if Jesus rose from the dead and you're assuming that atheism is true, an atheist could feasibly or at least possibly say, boy, strange things really do happen in our universe that is the result of chance. Look, a man rose from the dead. So without a theistic context to understand the meaning of the resurrection, I think that the argument for the resurrection loses a lot of muster. I also think that to the degree that your case for God's existence is only probabilistic, that weakens your historical argument for the resurrection. Its probability is lowered by a merely probably existent God.